This is the Marketing Agency Power Hour, and I'm your host, Cal Wilder. Each week, we'll power through discussions on business challenges, success stories, and game-changing strategies. This show is sponsored by SmartBooks, provider of bookkeeping and accounting for marketing agencies. Let's get started. So I'm excited to speak to today's guest. She's a serial entrepreneur, a media specialist, a creative leader, and a marketing expert, an industry veteran with over 20 years of experience in entertainment marketing. She's a marketing executive leading creative B2B and B2C marketing strategies for startups through Fortune 500 brands. She's developed integrated campaigns that elevate and propel brand initiatives. She's the managing partner of AMZG Agency. Veronica Clerkin, welcome to the show.
Hi, Cal. Thanks so much for having me.
Really looking forward to this discussion.
Likewise.
So what is the single most powerful strategy for success in your agency these days?
I love this question. I think hands down, it is transparency with our clients and with ourselves. I don't think you can really do good work for a client without, having open, honest conversations. And sometimes that means, telling them things that they may not want to hear, but in the long run, it's better for them and their business. So I think, that transparency can also extend to setting expectations, what working with us will look like, what you can expect on your side. And we found that really kind of eases clients from the very beginning. Because when you know what to expect, you're kind of more at ease just naturally. So yeah, transparency is really serving us well.
I feel like that's something that takes a little time and experience to realize and get comfortable with. Did it take you some time in your career to get comfortable having those kinds of discussions? Because it's kind of tempting to tell clients what they want to hear and then try to figure it out, right? Versus set maybe a low bar that's more realistic.
100%. I think, in the beginning, we tried to be everything to everyone. And just, if a client or even a potential client said like, oh, well, can you do, whatever service like creative? We're not a creative shop, but we would take that on in the beginning just to, try to grow the business, play in traffic, all those good things. And it really was a gift actually, because it helped us kind of hone our core offerings and made us look properly at what we're good at and what we enjoy doing and where we can really be helpful versus just, taking on projects with the hope of figuring it out. I think there is a lot to be said for figuring it out and, just kind of diving in and rolling up your sleeves and all those trait sayings, but, that is how you learn, and it did help us grow as an agency. But yeah, in the beginning, it was not easy, and I think it also requires a bit of confidence, on my part as an agency owner, to stand my ground and say like, "Well, look, you're hiring our agency to do a job." And there has to be a little bit of, trust, because when a client comes to you, they're looking for a service. It's not like, "Oh, I think I know how to do this, perfectly myself." They're coming to you for help and your expertise. So it is not in my nature to be, um, like overly confident or, cocky in any way. But there are certain things that I definitely know. So, I think kind of leaning into that confidence, where I actually do have expertise was extremely helpful.
Are there times when clients decide to stop working with you because they just have expectations that are too high compared to what's realistic to deliver?
I'm happy to say no. That has not happened. It's not to say that it never will. It's mostly about, budgetary concerns. If we ever need to part with a client, it's because a lot of the times marketing budget is the first to go. If a business is trying to scale back on their spending, marketing is often seen as a nice to have. So that's usually where we sometimes either pause or part ways. Um, but no, not due to, expectations or anything like that, I'm happy to say.
Are you the only one who's having these challenging conversations sometimes, or do you have staff that you've trained to also have these discussions with clients?
So I do have a business partner, Shannon Hollingsworth. We call each other our life and business partners because we've started this agency from nothing together, and obviously that includes a lot of you know um, relationship building. And she and I are kind of split those conversations equally. I think the beauty of having a business partner is you can develop that like good cop, bad cop thing if you need to. So one of our clients got a call from Shannon once and she was like, "Oh no, the big dogs are coming for me. What did I do?" And honestly, I don't love confrontation, so it's a relief to me that Shannon doesn't mind doing it. Um, but we're 5 years into the business, and I think I've done a lot of growing in terms of being willing to have those uncomfortable conversations. It's just part of the territory, so it's something that I've had to get comfortable doing myself. So kind of a long-winded answer to your question is it's basically between, my business partner and myself that are having those chats.
And what kind of services do you focus on, and who are the target client profiles that you work with?
So we offer kind of 3 core, services. First is social media management. The second is press and public relations, and the third is advertising or paid media. Those are really what capitalizes on mine and Shannon's backgrounds and on the rest of our teams. That's how we've hired. Um, and I think not even on purpose, but a lot of our clients happen to be in the B2B space. That is my background. I worked in B2B marketing for most of my career. Um, that's also how I happened to meet Shannon. We were both working at Time Inc. at the time. So, we kind of speak that language, and I don't think it comes naturally to everybody, but B2B, and happily other women-owned businesses. Again, not intentional, just sort of happened that way organically. So we work with a real estate firm here in Fairfield County in Connecticut, where we're based. We work with some solopreneurs, people in the lifestyle and wellness space, some nonprofits. So it kind of runs the gamut in terms of the clients that we do have, but B2B is our main bread and butter, I would say.
And how are you finding new business these days? What's working for you there?
I would love to say like, oh, we're running these, lead gen campaigns and they're really performing well. Honestly, 95% of our new clients come from referrals, which I am so grateful for. Um, because honestly, a referral it means so much more than just appearing in somebody's social feed and saying, hire us. Um, so we've been really fortunate in that way, to kind of grow without having to do a lot of um, marketing or cold calling or anything like that.
So you must be doing some good things for clients to get referrals. So that's great. Um, I'm curious, what are your goals or you and Shannon's goals as owners of the agency? If we sat down 4 years from now and you had a great run and the business did everything you wanted it to do over the next 4 years, how do you measure that? What are you trying to accomplish?
Oh, I love that question. Um, I, you know, doing fulfilling work, like we're doing now, and growing our team would be the two biggest indicators. I happen to really believe in all of the clients that we have. I love their kind of mission and what they stand for, especially those in the nonprofit space. Um, I really treasure our team. I think obviously we would be nothing without them. And we have kind of like a core four, and then we work with some freelancers, kind of on an as needed basis. But, making sure that they're happy and growing um, in their careers and, again, being fulfilled by the work that they're doing is so important to me. I think we just got incredibly lucky to meet these girls, and, kind of develop relationships with them, even though we're a fully remote agency. We do meet in person sometimes, like at client events, but, being fully remote, there's kind of like another layer of, um, connection, I think, that needs to happen because, so many of our interactions are just like what you and I are doing now is, over Zoom. Um, so I think, happy employees is, um, a huge it would be a huge indicator of success for us. Um, and growing our client base, I want, to be able to help as many clients as possible. That has to be done in the right way in terms of, growth and, bandwidth and things like that. So, um, yeah, I guess getting bigger and happy staff.
Makes sense. Very logical. What are some challenges that you're facing, or you think you may face over the next few years, or something you've recently had to overcome?
I think there's a common, misconception that, AI can do a lot or everything that we do. And while I think that is, a extremely valuable, tool for the work that we do, it can't completely replace our work. Um, so that's something that we kind of fight against a lot is, thinking like, oh, well, just, ChatGPT can just do a social media calendar for me in a month. It's like, well, yeah, your content is going to be horrible, but sure, if you want to do that, then, more power to you. I think we've been able to prove value enough that, those questions don't really come up that often. But it certainly is something like a client has mentioned, before, like, well, what if I use ChatGPT to, write all the captions and then you guys just schedule everything or something like that. It's like, that's not, no, that's no good for anyone.
It's kind of like having putting an intern in charge of your marketing, in a sense, I guess.
So true. Yeah, that's really well said. So that's definitely something that's come up is the AI question. And really finding good talent, has been a challenge. Like I said, we're really lucky to have the staff that we do. But we've also made not great hires along the way and kind of had to course correct on that. Um, which, back to what we were talking about before, more uncomfortable conversations. And, um, who's going to do that except the agency owners? So, yeah, talent is tough. I thought it would be, kind of just a non-issue. But the truth is there's not a ton of people. And I also think, Shannon and I have very high standards. Um, I'm just not blown away by, the people that we kind of interviewed along the way. I think, I don't know, there's now we're spoiled because we have such a great team that it's like, well, you can't compare. So, I think that's been a little bit of a challenge too. And obviously, if we want to grow, we do need to hire more. So, that's something that we grapple with a lot.
Yeah, I feel like, at least in my experience, I've done two or three businesses that have scaled now, and I feel like my hiring success rate has improved over time. Like the first year or two of a business, you're trying to figure out exactly what you're looking for in a hire and exactly what your standards are and how to assess the candidates and see if you can figure out if they can do the job before you hire them instead of after you hire them, and you kind of figure it out. As long as you keep the standards high, I feel like it's always hard to find good people, but after the first couple of years, you kind of home in on kind of the nature of people that would be great fits for your team.
Yeah, 100%. Um, glad we're not alone in that quest.
So, my day job is running a firm that does bookkeeping, accounting, tax, and CFO services. So I need to ask you a couple questions about how you go about managing that stuff at your firm. Who do you have doing the work? How do you oversee it? What kind of reports do you and Shannon like to be getting to keep up, a finger on the pulse of the finances of the business?
Yeah, that's such a great question. It's so important. Um, we do have a bookkeeper, and he's responsible for making sure that all our expenses are labeled correctly. We do use QuickBooks, um, which I find very overwhelming, if I'm honest. And almost like for me has too many capabilities.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to somebody yesterday who said kind of the same thing. He's kind of a solopreneur who uses a network of freelancers, and he just, he reluctantly uses QuickBooks, he says, because his CPA told him he needs to use it. But he thinks it's just got too many bells and whistles. It's too big for what he's looking for.
Well, did he pivot to another platform?
No, he's checking it out with QuickBooks. I mean, the thing is that it is the industry standard. And there's some lower cost, more basic solutions out there. But somehow you've got to communicate things efficiently with your tax CPA and be able to do tax planning. And if you hire a bookkeeper, pretty much any bookkeeper with small business experience in the US knows QuickBooks. Whereas once you get outside the QuickBooks ecosystem, it's harder to find people who know it. If you're trying to integrate third-party applications, say like a Harvest or some other, basic professional services automation tool, they may not integrate well with things other than QuickBooks. So it is kind of the standard. But the less you have to do in there, probably the better. Just kind of leave it to somebody who's lives and breathes QuickBooks.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm almost scared to poke around in there because everything looks like so, set, and I just don't want to mess anything up. Um, but I think even though, we have this bookkeeper who we absolutely love, his name's Rob Sterling, if anyone's looking for a bookkeeper.
Shout out Rob Sterling.
I'm not to Rob. Um, he really has kind of, streamlined our operations in terms of invoicing and looking at all our outgoing expenses and things like that. So it's been really helpful. We probably, maybe you and I need to have a separate conversation, Cal, because I think we do need some sort of, more guidance, I guess is really what we're looking for. Because I think there's so many other kind of ways we can be looking at our business that we're just not because, Shannon and I are in the day to day so much, and there's so many other things to do, and it's not my comfort zone. So it's something that I just, automatically am happy to outsource. Um, so yeah, I think, beyond Rob, if we didn't have Rob, I think we'd be in pretty bad shape, unfortunately.
One of the reasons we love working, supporting marketing agency owners is they say things like you just said, like, you want some guidance. You don't really want to have to become an expert in QuickBooks and accounting yourself. You got other talents and better things to do with your time. So, you know, we can do probably a lot of the same stuff that Rob's doing for you, but then we always try to layer on some financial performance metric scorecards on top of the financial statements and kind of work with you to develop a short list of, five, call it, key performance indicators on a monthly basis that kind of reflect performance against your objectives. So you may have some growth objectives, some profit objectives, some cash and cash flow kind of objectives. So what are like the key things that really reflect financial success for your business, and make sure we're measuring and reporting those on a monthly basis so you can see how they're trending for you. So that might be something we could talk about.
Yeah, I would love that, please. That'd be amazing.
Cool. Is there anything you've had to learn the hard way over the last 5 years related to finance that you'd love to have a do-over for?
I wish that we had had a bookkeeper from the very beginning. When we were starting out, we were so small, it was kind of like we were scared to hire anyone because we didn't have like an established client base or anything like that. It was just kind of like, let's see how this goes. I wish we had done that sooner because I think it actually would have helped us in the beginning instead of, just being like a cost. Um, and yeah, I'd say that's the biggest thing is just starting earlier, really.
Yeah, I talk to agency owners, and some of them, put it off because they don't want to incur the expense, and then some of them just kind of bite the bullet and at least start in year one, if not day one. So you're not unusual in that regard.
Well, it's early and in good company.
So we talked a little bit about the future, but are there particular things that are exciting for you about, your own firm, your industry, things you're doing?
Yeah, I love, being able to like I said before, support clients that we really believe in. I think one of the nicest things about having your own shop is you can have like a no jerks policy. Like we just don't work with people that, give us a bad vibe or, um maybe we don't believe in what they're, doing business wise. So, that kind of empowerment is really great, I think, for all of us. And I'm, closing out this year, you always kind of tend to look at like what happened this past, 2025 and what were the wins and what were the losses. Not just in terms of, revenue, but in terms of clients and, the small wins, the big wins. We we had a lot of all of it, and sometimes I look at, kind of like the breadth of the work that we've done on behalf of our clients, and I'm like, "I can't believe this. This is so amazing," which is why we call our agency AMZG, which is short for amazing, because so many times in the beginning um, of our, establishing the agency, clients would come to us and be like, "This is amazing." And we're like, "We're hearing this all the time. Maybe we should just call ourselves that." So really continuing to put ourselves against kind of like, a standard of excellence, I think, really excites me a lot. We're also looking at, new, kind of client bases that we can tap into, looking at new technology that can help us, work better internally and also service our clients more efficiently. So kind of all those things. I I'm just really, grateful for what we have and excited for what's possible and what's coming up.
Yeah, sounds like you're enjoying being the master of your own destiny to some extent, being able to select the kinds of clients that you want to work with, making the hiring decisions for kinds of people you want to work with, the kind of work you want to do. As long as, that all combines into something that the market wants to buy. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's very empowering. And Cal, as a business owner, like it's not all, rainbows and butterflies. There are some tough, like we said, tough conversations you have to have. And when you're the owner, that falls on you. But I think the positives definitely outweigh the negatives in that way.
So take me back to the days of little Veronica. Did you think when you were a little girl that you'd be one day owning and managing your own business?
I thought, working in Manhattan, I grew up in New York, so working in Manhattan was like the be all end all. Working for a big company in a big building, high rise, all those things was, like the markers of success. Um, I know Diane Keaton just passed away, and a movie that had a huge impact on me was Baby Boom. She plays this character that's like working 5 to 9 and, wearing her power suits and leading meetings. And that is what I wanted for sure. Um, Although ironically, like she goes off to actually start her own like business too. So maybe both versions of her character influenced me. Um, But yeah, I thought I was, a company gal, and I was for a really long time, for like 20 years. That's what I spent my career doing is
Some big places, right? Started
yeah,
in agency and then went to CBS and Time, some big companies that did a lot of marketing.
it's I guess, along the way, it never felt like anything, like, the entrepreneurial route was anything I ever wanted. But it was like once I got a taste of it, and especially, frankly, since I, started a family and have two young boys now, um, the freedom is unbeatable. Like, I know plenty of companies do hire remotely and hybrid and all those great things, but running your own, as you said, kind of being in charge of your own destiny is, um, I don't think there's anything like it. So, I'm grateful to have had that, corporate experience. And I'm also grateful for what I have now. I think, just based on the time in my life, that was right when I was doing it. And now this is right for me and for my family.
How are you balancing in office versus remote versus hybrid at the moment with your firm?
Well, we're fully remote. We do have an office space, but we rarely use it. It's honestly just for, if we needed to have an in person meeting, we could go there. Um, but we're completely remote. So we have one of our team members actually lives out in Montana. Shout out to Katie. She lives in Bozeman. So
Bozeman's very popular these days after
I just prefer it this way. And I think it's not for everybody, being 100% virtual. I think, especially for kind of, maybe people fresh out of college, they want that in office experience. And I don't think, you know, they would like an all virtual setup. Maybe hybrid is better. But for us, like this is what works. Overhead is super low. And we feel that it actually gives our employees better quality of life just to be able to, work from anywhere. We don't care where you are. You could be in, across in Australia if you wanted to be. Um, but I understand that it's not for everyone. So I think just being really honest about that at the beginning, like we're not going to be in office. We get together for, client events and things like that, but that's really it. And we have built actually great camaraderie considering that we don't see each other in person like hardly ever. Um, so yeah, it works for us. I don't think it works for everybody.
what was the catalyst for leaving the corporate world and a W-2 steady paycheck and going out on your own?
Well, like a lot of people, it was COVID. It was, being at home and having that flexibility of being able to, just take care of my two kids and be there for them every day. I went from, being gone from like 7 to 7 and having a nanny full time to not needing that anymore. And it came with its own challenges. I mean, I remember getting super frustrated with having, my son was in uh, pre-K and he's having like virtual learning and I'm on a call and I also have a baby and my husband's at work. So it was um, quite stressful at times, but the good definitely outweighed the bad. And Shannon and I actually worked for the same company at that time. We worked for an out of home company and we were both in very similar life stages, in terms of like the ages of our kids. And um, she actually just moved to Fairfield County from New York City, like so many people, just, the mass exodus from Manhattan. And she was like, I'm meeting all these business owners here who like really need marketing help. And it's all stuff that like you and I know how to do. Like, should we do something? I was like, I guess. What would we do? Um, and that conversation just 5 years later, here we are. It turned into something real, which I'm very proud of. But yeah, it all started with the pandemic, um, and just kind of the threat of losing that flexibility. Like I said before, it was like once I got a taste of, working from home, it was something I did not want to give up. And um, big shout out to my husband because he's very supportive. We call him our, our pretend CFO because he has a mind for numbers and he kind of, gives us some ideas on how to, track certain things or, um, keeps us on task for tax season. So, but really the support was huge. I couldn't have done this if he, wasn't cheering me on and supporting us every step of the way, honestly. He's been wonderful.
Yeah, I feel like when you start and run a small business, the whole family has to be behind it, even if they're not all working in it, right?
Totally. Yes, it's so true. Even my kids, they'll wear like AMZG gear and they think it's so cool. I think they think it's like like a bigger brand. And
Yeah. I could never get my kids to wear SmartBooks gear around town or to school. I tried. They didn't really want to do it.
they literally asked for it for birthday presents. I'm like, okay, if you want to. I actually think it's quite sweet. But yeah, you're right. It's like a family affair for sure.
So what do you like to do outside of work?
Well, like a lot of moms, I really try to, do things for myself. I think now that my kids are a certain age, I am able to kind of, make time for doing what I find to fill my cup. So, going for walks, all the good self care stuff that I've kind of neglected the last couple of years through because of, having younger children and starting a company and moving and all those things. Um, I really enjoy kind of taking time for myself. And that can come in very simple forms, like going for a walk or, working out or whatever it is. Um, I also really love to see my girlfriends. I think it's so crucial to have, that female support system. Um, so I love spending time with them. I like to, kind of plan out my next few months in advance. So I have things to look forward to. Um, and being with family is number one for me. We're actually doing a thing this year for Thanksgiving where a bunch of us are renting a house together upstate, and I'm so excited. I'm living for it. I think for me, as I get older, just family becomes so, so important. Obviously, it always has been for me, but, my mom is getting older and we don't see each other as much. So just having that to look forward to is huge. So not terribly exciting from the outside probably, but for me, it's everything.
Well, that's the key. I think you mentioned things that fill your cup, so things that bring you energy, right? I think that's really right because we can get bogged down some days. Some weeks go by and we're just sitting there grinding away, and at the end of the week, our energy's kind of gone, and we look back and said, "What did I do this past week?" I guess I cranked through a bunch of work, but you know, did I spend much quality time with my family? Did I get some good exercise? Did I get outdoors and get some sunlight? Things like that.
Yeah, 100%. It's so important.
So, do you tend to partner with other agencies for different kinds of work, and if you do, what are those kind of engagements or relationships look like for other people who might be listening?
Yeah, we do. We love partnering with other agencies. I definitely don't see it as, a um what's the word? I don't see it as, somebody who's kind of like our enemy. I see it as a potential collaboration partner. So we are really fortunate to have a partnership with sorry, not a client, an agency who is kind of complementary to our services. So they offer a lot of more strategic help on the like business setup side. whereas we offer, more on like the marketing side. So um, they've been good enough to bring us in on a couple of their clients. We also work with another agency who is purely creative driven. So they do the pretty things and we do the media buying. Um, and yeah, always open for collaborations. I think closing a door on that would be a huge mistake and a lost opportunity. So we've found great success with it. And I think both of those relationships came through Chief. Are you familiar with Chief?
Vaguely.
Yeah, it's kind of like LinkedIn, but for women who are, at a certain stage in their career. Um, and it's a wonderful community. And for connecting with people who it kind of has that like built-in trust layer to it. So it's like, if you're looking in your Facebook parent page for a babysitter, it's like there's that like little bit extra trust already there.
Is it a national organization, or is it geared around local chapters? How's it structured?
Yeah, it's national. I would recommend it to anyone, who's looking to kind of, make more connections outside of their kind of core network. It's been invaluable for us. So love Chief. um, but LinkedIn is great too. I've met a lot of connections through LinkedIn. People who are looking for um, more like not partnerships, not agency partnerships, but more like consulting. Like, hey, I see you are, you know, um, offering like these marketing services. I'm looking to start my own thing. Like, would love to pick your brain. Like those types of conversations. Um, so yeah, I love meeting new people. It's really, I think, the only way to grow your business.
So if people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yes. Well, I am on LinkedIn, Veronica Clerkin, and you can also follow our agency, AMZG Agency. We are on all platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, we're on it. And yeah, feel free to drop me a line, Veronica at amzg-agency.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Veronica, and everything you've shared. It was fascinating to kind of hear a little bit about your journey, your approach to your business, how you balance, your values against trying to run a business. And thanks for mentioning Chief. That sounds like it could be a really good resource for some listeners too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Cal. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. So this has been another exciting episode of the Marketing Agency Power Hour. If you've enjoyed the episode, you've learned something, you've just enjoyed hearing the story of another entrepreneurial agency owner, please tell people this podcast exists and share it, and let's get the word out to fellow agency owners. So we'll see you all next time. Another episode in the books. Thank you so much for tuning in. For show notes and more, please visit marketingagencypowerhour.com. This show is sponsored by SmartBooks, providing marketing agencies with bookkeeping, accounting, and finance support. With SmartBooks, you gain the clarity and confidence to make your agency a success. Until next time.